Buongiorno a tutti, welcome to Crave. I'm thrilled to kick off this season as we celebrate Italian culture, Italian American lifestyle, and of course 49er football. I'm here in studio with Alex Lopez. Ciao Alex, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, good morning.
Good morning. And today we have two incredible guests, right?
Yes.
The former NFL player and host of two popular 49ers podcasts, Eric Crocker, and Riccardo Berdini, an amazing mentalist and magician. Let's dive into today.
Okay, we're going to start off this amazing episode with a check-in like we do for every episode. So, Samantha, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to. I love when we do our check-in, because it's a time for me to kind of slow down, right?
Yeah, I think we need to take a second to okay, before we really start the show, and also just the craziness of the morning before we get here of okay, we're gotta wake up and get ready and meet up and then drive and deal with, certain things. So
right.
It's nice to have a second where we could just kind of breathe and then get back into the craziness. But it's good. It's always good.
It's a good craziness, right? It's a busy craziness. So we can take a deep breath. Let's do it, everybody. If you want to kind of, you're just watching the show. Right?
Yeah.
And let's start.
This episode of Crave is sponsored by Alice Becker Inc. a family-run business with over 30 years of experience in the fashion industry. They offer unique clothing for every age and size, always going the extra mile for their customers. Visit them in Nevada or online at www.alicebeckerinc.com.
Thank you so much to our sponsor for supporting this episode. Now, Alex, what's going on with the 49ers?
Today's 49ers update is going to be extra special. Joining us today to break down the Niners and Bucs game is former NFL-AFL cornerback and one of the hosts of the Locked On 49ers podcast and the Eric Crocker Show, Eric Crocker. Crocky, I'm so excited to have you on Crave.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good morning. Nice to meet you.
This is my other host, Samantha.
Oh, nice to meet you too, Samantha. Yeah.
All right. So I have to know, what were your thoughts or expectations for the Niners going into this game or coming out of the bye week?
I think Kyle Shanahan, he's done a really good job of coaching the 49ers really throughout his tenure, the second half of the season. You look at his schedule overall, and they posted the stat during the game. He's been tremendous, one of the best coaches in the league at that. So I expected them to play better coming out of the bye. However, it's hard not to be skeptical with just how the 49ers have played. A lot of uneven games, a lot of up and down, a lot of blowing leads, and they tried to do it again in this game where they started out with a nice little lead, and we started creeping away from the Niners a little bit. So I think I'm optimistic because I feel like the 49ers have the guys, they have the talent, they have the playmakers, they have the quarterback, they have the coaches. But there has been some kind of disconnect that has made this season start off a little shaky on top of some, key injuries. So heading into the game, I was cautiously optimistic. I think that's the word for it.
Yeah, I think all the Niner fans are the same way too. It's just been one of those seasons where I don't want to be too optimistic. We don't want to be too excited, but also it's we have this expectation based on how we've been playing for the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I think this expectation not only comes from how the 49ers have been playing, but I think of how some of these seasons have started out a little slower than expected, and then how they pick it up. Snap of a finger, boom, they're rattling off, 8 straight wins. We've seen them do that, and I know for me, I'm one of the hosts of Locked On 49ers. That was one question that we brought up. Do we have this just unwavering support or expectations for the 49ers because we've seen them do it before? Even though each year is different, each team is different, you deal with different injuries. So it was a big question for us, as far as just the expectations moving forward. Man, can they dig themselves out of this hole? But right now, you got to win. And they went to Tampa Bay. You're playing on the road. You're playing a team that's dealing with some tough injuries to, two of their top receivers, you have to figure out a way to win that game. And I know we'll get into talking about the kicker and other things that went into it, but for me, the most important thing was traveling to the East Coast, playing a 10 a.m. start time Pacific time zone, and coming out of that with a victory, and they did that.
Yeah, totally. Okay, you mentioned it, so I have to bring it up. The hot topic of the game was Jake Moody missing those 3 field goals and then hitting the game winner. So do you think that fans' frustration with him is justified, or do you believe he deserves more time from coming back with that high ankle sprain?
I think a lot of the fans' frustration with him, I don't think it's just from this game. I think we've seen in key moments where the 49ers had opportunities to win games. You look at last season against the Cleveland Browns, and he had a nice little setup for him to hit the game winner and be the hero, and he missed the field goal. So you kind of look at moments like that. I want to say the following week he missed another field goal, and it hasn't all been bad. He kicked very well into the Super Bowl, but a lot of people, they're going to remember some of the tougher moments with people, and tougher moments we've seen him maybe not come through as people would like. So you fast forward to this game where I think he did very good on field goals, but then the one field goal he missed throughout this year was a potential field goal to win a game or seal the win for a game and not force it to go to OT. And then you come into this game after being out with injury and you miss 3 straight field goals. I mean, that's tough. So I think that the 49er fan base is justified. I don't think it's just a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game issue that the 49er fans have with Moody. He's kind of set the table for this. And I will say, if you're going to miss 3 field goals, at least make 1 to win the game, and he did that. So I think moving forward, if I had to guess, he'd be on some kind of a hot seat. I don't see them just middle of the season cutting a guy who they spent the 3rd-round pick on last season, especially since in moments he has kicked well. But the trust factor, Kyle Shanahan, he's huge on trust. I don't know how much trust they have in Jake Moody right now.
I was thinking the same. And also, I was unsure, even if he had missed that last field goal, I was unsure because so many people were like, okay, and even me on Twitter, I was a little heated, but so many people were like, he needs to be fired, he needs to be cut, we have to get him off the team, leave him in Tampa. And I don't even know if he would have missed if they would have done anything, honestly.
Yeah, so in the building, a lot of times you don't want to overreact to anything. And for him, heading into this game, he did only have 1 missed field goal. I believe he had a missed extra point. But it's not like he's been a guy just missing, all season long. So as a coaching staff, you have to look at it and chalk it up as, man, this was just a rough game for our guy. And as somebody for me who has picked up golf over the last year, I understand kind of what it's like when your swing is a little off. I mean, first of all, I'm a novice golfer, but there'll be a day, man, I'm feeling good, swing is good, I'm making solid contact, and then the next day it's almost as if I've never picked up a club before. And then you're just off, and you're trying to fix it and tweak it, and then you kind of overcompensate. And I wonder if he had a little bit of that. He hasn't been kicking a lot in live games. He had a bunch of opportunities. Boom, he misses 1. Okay, let me try to correct it. Oh, he misses another one because he overcorrects it. And even on the game winner, I mean, it was inches away from hitting that goalpost. So for him, I think throughout this week, it's just kind of getting back in that groove and getting that swing back. All
right, another topic that kind of came from Moody missing the field goal was that little scuffle between Debo and Tabor Pepper. Do you think that kind of intensity is positive for the locker room, or could it potentially cause more harm? I know that Tabor himself said the beef was squashed, they're moving on to Seattle, but what do you really think?
Yeah, it's definitely not something that will be detrimental to the locker room at all. Things like this in football happen. You got men, you got a lot of testosterone. Sometimes words are said, but like most men, you get over it, you hug it out, you dap it up, and you're good moving forward. So I wouldn't expect anything less. And that was pretty mild, too. I've seen far worse, and guys still get over it. I'd say the things that are tougher to get over, and I've seen this, like, a teammate sleeping with someone else's girl or something, or trying to get at their girl, those things break trust. And it breaks that bond and that brotherhood, and those things are hard to get over. But as far as, just kind of something on the field that happens in a split second, those guys were probably over it by the time they went and sat down and had a drink of their Gatorade. And, I don't think it's going to be anything moving forward. Is it something that would, light a fire under the team? No, I don't think so either. I think that whole thing is probably a bit overblown because, again, it is something that I've seen so much in football. And guys, they forget about that stuff pretty quick. Unless somebody did something to make something personal. So let's say if Debo went to Jake Moody and was like, cussing him out, you suck, you need to be cut, you need to be fired, and then his buddy, his long snapper, reacted by saying something to Debo. Now that could be a little bit more difficult to get over when somebody makes something so personal. But from what we've heard, it was just one of those things where he says, hey man, lock in, fam. We're trying to win this game. The kicker, the snapper tried to stand up for him, but that's something. They'll all get over that.
I think so too. I think even in the moment, I was like, yeah, that's what I think Debo should be doing. I think he should be trying to get a light under his team.
Yep.
So, you know how the media is. They spin things and try to make a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Right, yep.
Okay, also, in regards with special teams, it's been a liability. And I would say the past 2 seasons, but especially now. And I think it impacts the team's momentum, especially during the game. So from your perspective, what do you think needs to change to get them kind of back on track? And is it time to say bye to Brian Schneider?
Oh, man. So, special teams is one of the 3 big phases. You got offense, you got defense, you got special teams. You typically heading into a game, you would love to win all 3 phases, but you want to win 2 out of the 3 phases. And one of the phases that you want to be very consistent with is definitely special teams because that can swing the momentum so much. We watched the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos. Kansas City, Denver Broncos are feeling good. They're driving down the field. They're making big throws. Shout out to Bo Nix, rookie out there, doing his thing. And you put them in position for essentially a chip shot field goal. And Kansas City blocks the field goal to win the game. Special teams, it has such a big swing on this. We've seen it in 49er games where against the Rams earlier in the year. 49ers doing well, okay, got an opportunity to kind of close things out. You have a kick that's missed, and then you punt the ball, and then they return it into, the other side. They get a huge return that flips the field for an opportunity for them to either tie the game or win the game. It is tough to overcome those things. So the 49ers special teams right now has been an issue. It has been for a few years now. And I would say at this point, the only thing you could do is probably fire the coordinator. And everybody talks about defensive coordinator. They talk about offensive coordinator. There is a special teams coordinator as well. And you may need, at this point, to see if there's someone on your staff that has a slightly different philosophy for how they would go about special teams to where the execution can be better. Because right now, I think it's hurting the 49ers a little bit in some of these games.
I think it's very frustrating, too, as a fan to experience so many bad moments with special teams. I couldn't probably name them off my hand right now of how many that we've had, especially this season. And I feel like a lot of it was blocked last season based on the other 2 phases, like you said.
Yeah, and that's what ideally you would want to see something be covered up by a positive. But in a season like this where, you have a lot of injuries, you've had a lot of up and down plays, you got a lot of young guys playing, you need all hands on deck to pick up each other when they're down, right? Just no different than a relationship, right? My wife and I, we've been married going on 9 years now, and there's been times where my money is up, and then, oh man, something happens, or, her money is up, and then something happens, but we're always there to pick each other up. And when I look at the 49ers right now, I think that part of it has been kind of inconsistent. It's been, okay, this part needs to step up, but they can't quite do it, and then this side can't either, and then that's how you end up being 5-4 right now. Definitely a team with so much talent, and the way they lost some of those games, you'd assume that this would be, right now it could be like a 6-2, 7-2 type team. But because of certain shortcomings, when it all happens at once, like I think at the Arizona Cardinals game, you lost in all 3 phases in the fourth quarter. Really, the second half of that game. Those things just can't happen. So they definitely have to figure out how to get back on track, and I think it starts with, man, heads got to roll. You may have to fire somebody and, again, bring in someone that has just a different philosophy where the guys might be able to execute just a little bit better.
All right. Another question that I have kind of on that same type of topic of not executing well. And really one of my biggest concerns right now is the red zone offense. And despite CMC's return, it's just continued to struggle. So kind of what's your analysis of the situation and where do you think the team needs to improve to be more efficient in the red zone?
When it comes to red zone and being more efficient, I think 49er fans, and myself included, have put a lot on, Chris McCaffrey, right? Oh, Chris McCaffrey, he's going to come back, and all of a sudden the red zone woes, they're going to just be so much better. But I think a lot of it really starts, and with us doing that, we're taking the pressure off of who it should be on, which is Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. And I'm going to use this example because I think this is a reason why maybe the 49ers have been a little inconsistent in the red zone, or big time inconsistent in the red zone. Brock Purdy threw a touchdown to George Kittle, corner of the end zone. It was a beautiful throw. It's always fun watching Brock Purdy make those off-scripted plays where he's moving around and he rolls out and then he throws the ball. Beautiful throw, threw it on the only spot that his guy can make a play in. And boom, touchdown. Everybody sees it. Wow, what an amazing play. But that play will not be consistent. To run around and do that and throw it to the perfect spot. Like, if you try that out of 10 times, he may be able to replicate that 3 times, 2 times. What is going to be more efficient? It would be getting the ball out on time and in rhythm. Are there guys open? What is Kyle Shanahan trying to do? And when I watched the replay of that game, of that play, and I kind of went back and watched it again, you have Deebo Samuel from the left side running essentially kind of a drag/slant straight through the middle of the field. And that was a great opportunity for Brock Purdy to just hit Deebo in stride right there, put it on him, give him a catch and run opportunity. Even if he doesn't pick up the first down or the touchdown, maybe 2 yards short. Now you have a 3rd and 2 situation that's much more manageable. But instead you bypass that. I believe those are the plays that the 49ers may not be converting on or executing on in the red zone that contribute to the 49ers red zone woes. So, again, I know Chris McCaffrey's coming back and we're expecting big things, but until you fix those things that should be a little bit more consistent in the offense down there, I don't think they're going to get the results that most fans are looking for, and you'll have to settle for, 6 field goals like they did in this past game.
Yeah. Gosh, it's one of those things, too, where I was thinking about, okay, is Kyle's script not working? Is there something missing? Is Brock not seeing something? All of those thoughts come across my mind. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's one of those things that will get fixed as this season kind of ends. So with the second half of the season underway, how do you see the Niners making a playoff run? I know right now at this current moment, they're not even in the hunt. But do you still consider them to be able to be in the playoffs, to even go possibly to the Super Bowl?
This is one of those times where, how much value do I put on the previous years? Again, new team, you got some different coaches, you got different things that you deal with throughout the season with injuries and whatnot. But there is one guy at the top that's consistently been there, and that's Kyle Shanahan. And I think he's been in this situation a lot. And if there's anybody that understands how to get the 49ers out of this tough spot and has done it before, it's him. So I definitely believe that this is a playoff team. How good in the playoffs, I think that's going to be determined on how they finish out this season. But they definitely backed themselves into a corner. You can't lose many games. And when you look at the schedule coming up, you got some tough guys on there. You got some tough games on the road. And there's games against Detroit Lions, and you got the Rams again. You got the Cardinals again, who are hot right now. They've won 4 out of the last 5 games. Kyler Murray's continuing to hit his stride. They got a new head coach over there. I would only assume that they would get even a little bit better, and now the 49ers have to go to Arizona and play them. Not saying the 49ers can't win, but that's just another one of those tough games. You got some tough games on the schedule, and you're going to have to figure out how to win those games. So I could definitely see playoffs for the 49ers, but I'd be lying if I said that I'm as optimistic as I was, prior to the season, where you feel like the 49ers are one of the best teams in the NFC. Even winning this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There was times me and my buddies were in the group chat. We're texting, And we didn't feel confident that the 49ers would pull that out. And I think for the fan base, I think everybody kind of feels the same way right now. It's just a little up and down.
Here at Crave, we love to talk about people's passions, even beyond what they do for their careers. So, outside of covering the Niners, what's another passion of yours?
Oh man, so I am like the most competitive person ever. So some of the things that I just enjoy doing all the time, like playing Uno with my daughters, and when people come over, and it gets intense. I mean, we're talking trash and everything just in Uno. Love doing that. I would say in previous years I loved playing video games, but I haven't done that as much. But I coach high school football, and I love coaching high school football. Very passionate about it. Very passionate about helping the kids. I know a big thing that I strongly believe in is being the man in these kids' lives that I needed when I was growing up. And I think because I didn't have it, I made a lot of really bad decisions, a lot of things that I wish, some things I could change. But, a lot of it shaped who I am today. And I think that I'm doing all these things for a reason. So coaching high school football, right now I'm set up to take over a program, be the head coach of a high school. And I'm excited for that opportunity and be able to change a lot of kids at that school's lives. So coaching high school football probably is my biggest passion outside, except for, let me make sure I mention this, hanging out with my wife, watching Netflix, taking long walks, all that stuff with the wife too. I love you, wife. So aside from the wife, yeah, football, definitely the biggest passion I have.
Crocky, thank you so much for joining us today, and let everyone know where they can find you and what you got going on right now.
Oh yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at Crocky209 or on Instagram at crocktime_u. And, of course, you guys can find me 5 days a week on Locked On 49ers. It's myself, my co-host, Brian Peacock. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple. So make sure you guys subscribe to all that.
Everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me on,
Bye,
y'all.
Eric.
I appreciate it.
Today on Crave, we have a truly unique guest, Riccardo Berdini. Riccardo is a talented mentalist, magician, and producer, known for creating unforgettable experience both on stage and behind the scenes. Now, let's connect to Los Angeles, where Riccardo is joining us. We are so excited to have you, Riccardo, with us today.
Hello, guys.
So, Riccardo, you start in musical theater and have you even won awards? What drew you to this path and how did it shape your career?
Well, musical theater has been a big passion of mine since I was a child. I fell in love with Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie. When I was a kid, I couldn't stop watching it for like hours and hours every day. I was really in love. And then there was another big, huge show in Italy called Notre Dame de Paris, inspired by the novel of Victor Hugo, that really shaped a lot of my musical taste and my, and my youth. And I dreamed about doing musical theater, so I started to write musicals. I wrote 2 musicals at the age of 18. One was called The Halogen Child. The other one was called A Light in the Darkness. And I made this show in my home city, in my hometown Trieste. And then I just decided to do a musical theater academy because my passion was going there. I mean, actually, I'm mainly a filmmaker, as you can tell from the background.
Okay, I can see.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to be since I was 4 years old. But then I met musical theater through movies, through Jesus Christ Superstar, and I fell in love with musical. And then I thought, well, let's do musical because I don't even know how things happen in my life. I just have an instinct. I go for it. I do what I really like. I follow my passions, and then life takes care of itself. And so I did this fantastic musical academy in Italy, and it was amazing because it gave me a lot of incredible tools. They taught me acting, they taught me tap dance, they taught me classic dance, they taught me singing, they taught me classical singing, pop sing, rock sing. So a lot of good techniques. It was 3 years, a very strong academy. It's called the Bernstein School of Musical Theater in Bologna. And it was, directed, if you can say directed, by a very strong Canadian woman. She was like a dictator with very strict rules. And it also taught me a lot of discipline, which I never got in my life. So it was absolutely a blessing, and thanks to that, then once I finished the academy, I started to be casted in some of the major show in Italy, and I became one of the most successful performer in Italy. And everything ended up with the role of Jean Valjean in Les Mis, which is, I think, the dream of every performer. It was really an honor and a blast to play that character. But after that, I love musical theater, but at the same time, it's a little bit musical theater. It's beautiful, but as a performer, you're just a performer, and I'm a little bit cursed with a lot of creativity, which can be good, but sometimes it's even a little bit too much. I need to create. I create my music. I write my script. I create my story. I have to create. And just the performer was not fitting to me. So, since I was in love with movies since I was a kid, and I always wanted to be a filmmaker and a director, I moved to Los Angeles. I did a big leap of faith. You say? Yeah, leap of faith. I
Yeah.
moved here, and it was hard. It was hard at the beginning.
What was the biggest challenge and how did it influence you as a performer as well?
Um, the biggest challenge has been to be an immigrant in this country because it's not easy to be an immigrant in this country. It's not easy to speak a different language and to learn a new language, especially from a performer point of view, because I have to perform in English. So I have to be actually very fluid. And another challenge has been the sense of humor. Because one thing that people don't understand that is a big barrier between different cultures and different countries is the sense of humor. Because Americans, they laugh for certain things. Italians, we laugh for completely different things. So I realized that most of the time people were laughing for things that to me were no jokes. And I was happy because it was working, but I didn't understand why is this happening? What is happening here? And so it was challenging to understand American culture, to get into a completely different vision, education even. There are certain things that maybe for us are normal and here are not very, like kissing, touching each other. We Italians are extremely touchy. I had problem being touched at the beginning, as you can imagine. We don't have many physical barriers, while here there's a lot of respect, even too much respect, if I have to be honest. Like, it's nice to touch each other in a healthy way. It's human connection is the way we're made for. But maybe it's nice because I was born in Italy, and that's easy and natural for us. So this component were a little bit challenging at the beginning to insert in this new society. But from a performing point of view, it was, I don't know how this happens. I mean, I came here to be a filmmaker, and I had to make money and survive one way or another. And I discovered this insane passion for magic that grew on me so fast without even realizing. I stopped doing auditions for acting. I stopped doing a lot of things. I just focused on magic, but not consciously. It was just my instinct. I couldn't stop learning, studying, going to the magic castle, learning from magician, studying lectures, studying books, learning new tricks, and eventually it was natural. So I became
Right.
quickly I rose and was able to become a successful mentalist in Los
Yeah.
Angeles.
What first drew you to mentalism, first of all, and how do you connect it, with the power?
So mentalism is a branch of magic that, of course, is it's the magic of the mind. Okay, all the things that concern the mind influence, mind reading, incredible mind power, even bending metals. There are so many things that levitation can be mind mentalism, can be from the mind. But I want to be honest on that. There's no power. I'm not a psychic. It's magic. Okay, so we know it's not truly real. But the things that actually attracted me from mentalism is that part of it is actually real, because there's a strong component of hypnosis and mind influence. There's a strong component of psychological subtleties and psychological tips that you can use, and the magic of the mind is the only kind of magic that actually people understand is way more real than the other kind of magic is. So that's what drew me to mentalism. I'm a storyteller, and I realized that through mentalism I could make my story more believable because it's the most powerful and believable kind of magic nowadays. And also, one thing that was very important, the gift, you call it. There's no gift, no one has powers, in my opinion, in life. I don't really believe in psychic. I don't believe in a lot of things. I'm very practical, pragmatical. I'm also very religious, which is
Yeah, exactly.
weird nowadays. It's weird, but I'm still proud of it, even if there are two crazy people out there, but there's still some people that are, balanced in the way they have their faith. Um, but the gift that I have, that I'm very proud of it, is that I love to connect with humans. And I think that is because I'm Italian. We Italians, there are many things that don't go in our country, so many that we can just start the list now. But there's one thing that we're very good. We know how to connect with people, to connect honestly with people, to understand people. I have this gift that I understand people. I understand them. I can clearly see where they come from, what's the problem, what's their issues. I can get in the shoes of people very, very easily. And that helps me to do mentalism because when I do mind reading or mind influence or when we do some, experimental together, there's another thing that I do that I love to connect people together. So I'm just a conductor, I would say, like I
Mhm.
conduct the orchestra, and then
Okay.
people think of something, and then they think of something together, or they feel
Mhm.
the touching of each other, or I love to use the entire crowd sometimes for this kind of experiment. Mm, it's fun. It's fun because mentalism has a lot of roots in reality, and in the end, it's just a way to have fun, make friends, because I made so many friends performing mentalism, and connect people together.
Yeah, also, you are a skilled mentalist at the regular at the Magic Castle. What does performing, there mean to you? And also, how does it influence your approach to magic?
Well, the Magic Castle has been everything for me. I learned most of what I know at the Magic Castle. I met some of my heroes at the Magic Castle. I now perform there, which is a great honor. It's a beautiful family. All the greatest magicians in the world perform there or have performed there. There's one of the biggest library, if not, I think the biggest library of magic in the entire world.
Oh.
Um, yeah, and it's only accessible by members. And also, it's been great to do a lot of networking. I'm also a filmmaker, so sometimes I bring my investors, my producers, some celebrities. I bring them to the Magic Castle because it's a very exclusive club, as you know. Only members can get in, and we spend beautiful nights bonding together, connecting, becoming friends, and it's been really one of the most important thing that I had the pleasure to find in Los Angeles.
Okay, what's one feeling or message you hope people take from your mentalist show?
Well, as I said, the things that I love the most is when people comes to my show, I want them to forget completely about the way they live their life and the way they interact with each other in their life. And for a moment, they feel vulnerable and they feel happy in being vulnerable. Because when we are vulnerable, we're not afraid of being vulnerable. It's the moment that we really connect with other people because we realize that we're all the same. We all need the same thing in life. We all need to be loved. We all need to have fun. We all need to eat, drink, and then go to the restroom. I'm sorry, we all do it. Even Brad Pitt and Scarlett Johansson, they go to the restroom every day. Sometimes we forget about this and we take
Uh-huh.
everything we do too seriously. But it should be way easier to connect, to understand each other, and to stay together, to enjoy this incredible gift that is life. So what I hope I do in my shows is to celebrate life at its best.
How can people find you? Do you have a website, your show schedule?
Yes, I have a website. It's riccardoberdini.com. Riccardo with two C's because it's Italian. In Spanish, in Spanish, and Latinas would be Riccardo with one C, but we're Italian, we're complicated. So we have to put a double C, riccardoberdini.com, and people can book me there. I work a lot in private parties, corporate events, private events. I have to do a show in Vegas next month for like 10,000 people. They found me through the website. So if you Google my name, find me through the website, that's what happened.
Okay.
And then I perform sometimes at the Vibrato. I have this magic and music show. The Vibrato is a beautiful jazz club. And since I was a musical theater performer and I'm a musician, I try to combine magic and music, which is, I think music is a great part of mentalism, because the way music is able to influence our mood, our choices, and even who we are, it's incredible. So it's a perfect tool for mentalism. And I do this magic and music show at the Vibrato. I took a break out of it because now we're location scouting for my directorial feature debut. So there are no dates right now for shows, but there will be soon, because I love to perform, of course. And then I perform also at another venue called Melrose Umbrella, which is owned by my great friends Austin Melrose and Zach Patterson. They are two amazing guys, and they have this speakeasy fantastic in West Hollywood called Melrose Umbrella. And I do an intimate mentalism show called Formamentis. Or I perform at the Magic Castle. So these are the shows that I have in town. That I'm in town. But yes, either my website or my Instagram, they can find all of the information people want.
Also, Riccardo, I was reading about your 6 steps to educate your mind. What's the most powerful technique you believe everyone should know to unlock their full potential and become the best version of themselves?
Well, I think it's the first step, which is acceptance. So it's acceptance of your flaws and your fears, because most of the time we don't accept who we are. We fight it because of past traumas, because of bad experiences, because of lies that we like to tell to each other. But if you really understand who you are and you accept your flaws becomes a tool, a powerful tool. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I think the first step of acceptance is very, very important. This is a series of conferences that I do, or keynote speech that I do for companies all around the countries. And again, I hope to help people to understand that our mind is the most powerful thing that we have, and it can influence everything in our life in the most powerful way, in incredible ways. So I'm glad you brought this up.
And finally, here on Crave, we love highlighting people passions. Behind performing, what passion that truly drive you?
Jewelry. I'm a big jewelry fan.
I can
and
see it.
I'm creating my new line, actually. It will be called Riccardo Berdini.
Great.
Wow.
So that's your passion, eh?
I love jewelry. I don't know why, but everything that is aesthetic. I'm also a huge fan of interior design. My father is an architect, so I don't know. Maybe it runs in the blood of the family. I love fashion. I love everything that is aesthetic.
Fashion, yeah.
I just don't like when aesthetic becomes more important than who we are. That's what I don't like.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, grazie mille. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to our 11th episode of our 5th season. Follow us on Instagram at crave.show, and we're on Apple Music, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe.
Tune in every Wednesday for a new episode. Also, make sure you check our website, craveshow.com. Stay tuned for next week. Ciao, a presto.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.